Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jordan Bob here. I have a feeling that the theme of this episode is just going to be everything is retarded. I don't know if that's going to end up being the title or not, but
Isn't that just society?
yeah. So to kick it off, I think this is pretty good. Um, I want to preface, right? I don't know if it's true. I haven't done any real legwork. Um, and every bone in my body is telling me that it's fake. Um, but I mean, it's 2024, man. You don't know. You don't know anymore. So I'm gonna start with this tweet that I literally just saw like 5 minutes before he came on here. So it's from an account. So I did a small legwork, right? So it's from an account called the U.S. Ministry of Truth on Twitter, and it's a blue check mark. That account is not a legitimate U.S. fucking government affiliate at all. It's not parody or satire, but it's slanted political opinion. If I don't know if you remember this, but some people out there might remember like maybe like a year or at this point it could be 2 3 years ago. There was discussions around creating a they didn't call it the Ministry of Truth, but people on the right called it the Ministry of Truth because I think either Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany had like a Ministry of Truth or something. There was some sort of ties there at some point. But it was during COVID or like shortly there after COVID when the government was like, "Oh, we need to like create an organization that's going to combat misinformation and make sure that people have the correct information and that we don't go through what we just went through with all those anti-vaxxers and all that shit." So like I said, I don't know if you remember that, but that's a side tangent. This U.S. Ministry of Truth, it's fake. Like it's a play on that. So this account is a politically slanted to the right account. Um, but they posted something that they attributed as a quote from the IRS. So I clicked on like the at IRS news, and that's the actual IRS, right? So that's about as far as my legwork went, right? Because like I said, I just saw this a couple minutes ago. So I didn't actually look through the official IRS Twitter to see if something like this existed, but let me get to the actual tweet for you. Um, so comes just in. President Biden announces tax incentives for families willing to take in slave, and then there's like a dash, like he was about to say slave, but he's changed to migrants in a new quote housing for labor initiative. So then the second paragraph here says, and this is in quotations attributed to the at IRS News, which is a real legitimate IRS Twitter account. So again, I don't know if something like this exists on their Twitter, but this fake account or not fake, it's obviously real, but it's slanted political account is attributing the following quote to the real IRS. You can now apply to keep a migrant in your home in exchange for cooking, cleaning, picking crops, and landscaping.
Picking crops? It literally said picking
It
crops.
says picking crops, and that's what really makes me believe that it's not real. And then it says via at IRS News.
And this is okay, IRS, that's federal, it's not state. I was gonna say, like, are we gonna start talking about the cotton trade in
Yeah.
Massachusetts? But
so
it's federal, so I guess that doesn't really work.
so this is what I mean. This has to be fake. There's no
It can't
way.
be. The picking crops
Yeah, it has to be
doesn't
fake.
work for
However,
me.
the fact that we can have a discussion about whether or not this is something that's real or fake is mind blowing
Well, there is.
because
This is
something similar it's going on in Massachusetts right now.
yeah. Isn't there someone in Brookline? Wasn't there like a feature?
Yep.
Someone in Brookline has what she called a Haitian couple, yet they were speaking Spanish.
Yeah, I thought that was odd.
Because last I checked,
I didn't know
Haitians
Haitian
speak
spoke
Creole.
Spanish. Yeah. I mean, we grew up with a lot of Haitians in Medford, and I don't think any of them spoke Spanish.
No, actually, I think they would go as far as out of their way to make sure that they don't speak Spanish because that would confuse them with Dominicans. And I don't think the Haitians and Dominicans want to be confused with each other.
Yeah, yeah, and I did see some Twitter comments like underneath that video being like, "Well, they share an island with the Dominican Republic, so they probably
Um,
speak Spanish."
I'm fairly certain it's like French Canada.
And yeah, and at the risk of sounding like that fucking white asshole that's like, "Oh, I have a black friend" type of thing, like I said, we grew up with a lot of Haitians. The Medford, Massachusetts population in, from the 90s and early 2000s through, 2010, right when I graduated high school. You were a little bit before that, but through like the 90s through, let's call it 2010, there was a very large Haitian population in the city that we spent the first 18 years of our lives in. And I know a lot of Haitian. I'm still friends. I'm very good friends with one of them. Shout out to Tony, Tony Lewis. I don't know if I doubt he listens to the show, but I still talk to him very frequently. We played football together. I consider him still a close friend. I haven't seen him in person in a while, but we still keep in touch. So, like, none of them, not one of them, to my knowledge, spoke Spanish.
Same with the Brazilians. None of them spoke Spanish. They all spoke
Yeah,
Portuguese.
yeah, all Brazilians speak Portuguese. So like those Twitter comments that are like, "Well, they share an island, they probably speak it too," and it's like, I don't know, man.
Uh,
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm sure
oh,
some of them, right? You can't sit here and
yeah,
say
okay, because there's
zero
bilingual
percent.
people everywhere.
Yeah, you can't say 0% of Haitians speak Spanish. That's absurd. Like that's an absurd claim. But I don't know. Most of the ones in Medford that we encountered didn't speak Spanish.
No.
So yeah, that was odd. But to your point, yes, there was
Yes.
a legitimate news story by like NBC Boston that a an older white woman in Brookline invited this Haitian family, alleged Haitian family, into her house, and she literally said the statement on the news. It's like having a personal chef. She uttered those words in that exact order. It's like having a personal chef. Now,
Well,
I mean,
this
was
is
there
just
probably
again.
more to it and the editing, right, from the newsreel, whatever kind of did her dirty? Sure. Yeah, you can make that argument, right? But it's certainly like it's kind of an odd thing to say and then an odd thing in the editing process to just kind of like have it be that.
Well, no, this it's because it's an odd thing altogether because if you're going to invite someone into your house and they're not going to pay you rent, then they're generally would because no one does anything that like no one is that good for like the kindness of their heart.
No,
No one is.
no.
Unless you're going to stay at the fucking convent or a fucking monastery or something.
Yeah, yeah.
No one's just going to invite you into their home just because they're nice people.
Right.
White people in Massachusetts definitely are not inviting you into their house just because they're nice people. They want something in return. So if
Even
you're
if
not
the
paying,
something is as simple as
cooking and
like,
cleaning, like
well, yeah, I was gonna say even simpler than that at the fucking stupid wives club that she can this whatever the woman can brag to her friends, right? Like
what yeah,
social cred.
whatever it is.
Like it could be as simple as that. Like they're looking for something out of it. I agree with you on that point.
And they want other people to also take these people in. Now, again, if there's nothing I still don't understand it because if there's nothing financial, but there has to be something financial, and it's gonna actually come back to backfire because I don't understand how it works completely, but I know a developer or like by proxy a developer who in some of these communities where they're bringing people in and the hotels are full of whoever. Well, they're like, well, these people should be allowed to vote. They live here. He goes, you're fucking A right. They should be allowed to vote. They fucking live here. Make them citizens. And then I can fucking do all types of fucking real estate development. Like, he goes, I'll have so much fucking low income housing in this fucking town that you guys will go nuts. He goes, I won't even fucking open it up to regular. It'll all be
Yeah.
low income and it'll be exempt from inspection, whatever. He goes, I'll go up as fucking high as I want. Um, he goes, oh, the town says 3 stories, not anymore because you have X amount of people. It's
Right, because you're
that's,
providing homes for low income people.
but
So
it has to do with it's like population based. So
right, right,
it's one of those things like where like I mean I know this is more statewide than townwide. It's like, oh, give them driver's licenses and let them vote. Yeah, sure. No problem. Nothing wrong there, right? Nope. Now they're residents. And when you
right.
hit a certain population of a certain amount of people in a certain amount of area, the rules fucking change.
Right.
And then you can just fucking, if you know what you're doing, you can either use it to your advantage or you just sue the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah.
But anyway, so everyone's always going to be trying to get something out of this. So, for whatever reason, they want these people here. And they being government or local, federal, state,
I mean,
whatever.
Governor Healy has come out and said, it would be nice if people would invite them into their homes.
Yep.
Like the
So
governor of the state
you've
has,
effectively just created, and especially with the news being like, oh my God, like look at all the help you can have in your home.
yeah.
You effectively just created slavery.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at. So this tweet, this Twitter thing. No, it's a tweet. Um, so this tweet, right, from the fake U.S. Ministry of Truth, where it says you can now apply to keep a migrant in your home in exchange for cooking, cleaning, picking crops, and landscaping and all that stuff. There's
Landscaping
people,
too.
yeah, I know. There's people in the replies to this being like, did this guy just say I can own a slave? Uh, Smells a lot like indentured servitude. Uh, so is at POTUS bringing back slavery? What could possibly go wrong? Wow, Democrats really did get mad when they had their slaves taken away. Now they're trying to bring them back. The return of slavery. Biden brings back indentured servitude on a Friday. Hell yeah. Am I being punked? Am I being punked? Wait, so we're bringing slavery back and the government's paying for it? Who knew? Sounds like modern day slavery to me. So, like, all of these comments are all, hey, man, this doesn't seem right. Which, again, it has to be fake. I refuse to believe that that's real. Um, but if it is, my God, what the
Well,
fuck?
so whether that specific language is real or not, it is real. We saw a news article.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if the woman
this
in Brookline's doing it, then
this specific tweet was about getting tax relief. Like there's now tax benefits for it, right? So I don't know if that's actually true. What we do know, like I agree with you. Yes, well, obviously we do know that the situation is real and it is happening, right? A la the woman in Brookline and the governor of Massachusetts. Um, but we don't know if the president has come out and said there will be tax exemptions for people that let these people into their homes.
I bet you it's there somewhere. It's just no one's going to actually investigate the tax code.
Yeah, I mean it's potential,
Because
right?
that's one, especially like they could have absolutely just fucking sent that one through. It
Yeah,
was like, let's not mention this one,
yeah,
but we'll put it out to all tax professionals, whatever. Because I wouldn't be surprised because there's got to be something, right?
yeah. To your original point a few minutes ago, like there has to be some sort of benefit, right? Like there needs to be something that you're going to receive in exchange for letting someone from a different country. live in your house, right? This isn't someone from like North Carolina that got hit by a hurricane and like, there's people inland in the state or like in Virginia or something that are allowing these people to live in their homes, right? Or like God forbid there was a massive fucking earthquake somewhere and like the whole southeastern United States just like went underwater. And it's like, oh, well, if anybody anywhere can help these people out, there are fellow Americans, right? Sure, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, come, me personally, I wouldn't do it, but I could easily see plenty of people being like, yeah, sure, come stay with me. I got extra space. I got whatever. These people are
Why would
from
an
another
American want
country.
why would an American want to help another American? That doesn't make any sense.
But like these people are from another country, right? They do not, and not that this matters, but they don't speak the same language, which where it does matter is obviously there's the language barrier, right? So like communication becomes extremely difficult. Um, so again, it's not like you know, your neighbor lost power, right? A tree fell down in your neighbor's yard and ripped down their power lines, and they lost power, but you still have power, so you invite them next door, right? Like this is someone that is from a different country, has different cultural values. They don't speak the same language. Like this is a big thing, right? And to receive nothing just doesn't really
No, it's not
seem like
happening.
it makes sense.
No, no way.
And like, maybe you and I are both just extremely cynical, which I mean, I think we are. But um
What? There's
there
no
needs to
way.
be something. There
There's
needs to
no
be
way.
something. Yeah.
There's a literal 0% chance that these people,
Literally
like that woman in,
impossible.
literally impossible. There's no way that that woman in Brookline's doing that shit for free.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing, I guess it's like, again, you can have like the slave labor, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
You get the free labor in exchange for the housing, so it's like maybe, but like that's the exchange, even if it's not actual money. But I won't buy for 1 second that they're asking you to open your home up to people and they're not paying you. I am not believing that for 1 second.
Yeah. I mean, they were paying the hotels.
Yeah, but I guess the hotels that's a kind of a complicated situation. What's going on like with that? Because now like the hotel chains are starting to be like, all right, well, if you're not booking rooms, like you're not a Holiday Inn anymore. Like we'll pull our fucking name off the building.
Yeah, so that's a real thing.
I know
So
it is.
there was a hotel in North Attleboro on Route 1 that I drive by every single day that was housing migrants, and it was a Best Western, and they took like effectively a giant black trash bag, right? And put it over the sign. Like it's a massive sign, so I know it's not a trash bag, but there was a big black plastic bag, right? Effectively.
Call it a tarp.
Yeah, that went over the sign and was tied off. And it happened, I don't know, probably around like August-ish, August, September. And then I found out from Mary like 3 weeks ago. Shout out to Mary, loyal listener, friend of the show, that they moved all the migrants from North Attleboro to Norwood. And magically, a week after she told me that, guess what came off the sign of the Best Western? The big black tarp. And now it's magically back Best Western again.
Well, and
So
that's
that's
and
a
that's
real thing. They've been doing that.
and that's part of the like again, you need to be smarter than I am. But if it's not a hotel and they're not staying in a hotel, then technically that's long-term housing. So if they're staying long term, technically speaking, they're residents of the town.
Right.
And again, like by population, like your zoning changes and your other shit change, like
Yeah.
both in terms of like their eligibility for schools and public works and public services, and also people's ability to exploit it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Somehow we've gone 160 years in reverse.
Yeah. And we thought it was like just
Yeah, about
funny
160.
when they were talking about like, making separate bathrooms and water fountains. Like we were laughing at that. What was that, like a year and a half ago? We were like, oh, that's hilarious. It's like fucking segregation. We did a whole podcast episode on, or at least half an episode on like we're going in reverse, right? So we're like resegregating everything. And now it's like we've gone past that. Now we're reverting to slavery.
Yeah, we've gone even further back.
Yeah. But you ask the people on the left and they're like, oh no, this is great. You're like the woman in Brookline. Oh, I have a personal chef. It's okay. We don't know. Again, we don't know if this is real, but according to the IRS, there's someone that can pick your crops and fucking do
I
your
was gonna say, like,
landscaping.
that's the thing. It's like, what if I just went and grabbed a homeless guy and go,
Yeah.
"Do you want to come live with me? You can still do drugs." And like, yeah, sure. I go, "Do you know how to cook?" He goes, "Yeah, I know how to cook." I go, "You're gonna be my fucking chef.
Yeah, I can cook
And if you
meth.
and if you don't fucking cook for me, I'm kicking you out." That's bad.
Yeah.
That's a homeless American. But if you do it with
Right.
a fucking illegal immigrant, it's cool.
Right.
I don't know. I'll never understand it.
Yeah.
That'll be like to my fucking grave. I will never understand it.
Yeah. It's it's a very strange, fucking wild situation. Um, Talking about strange and wild situations and continuing, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, said the theme of this episode is everything is retarded. Um, so this is a funny one. It requires a little bit of like you had to go back and see what happened as everything kind of came out. So I'll run through like how it happened in real life and then I'll do the reverse. So in real life, I think this was like maybe Thursday-ish, like it was towards the end of last week. There was there was some like announcement, right? That was like kind of like super secretive, sly announcement, whatever, that there was a potential national security threat on the horizon. But like the congressman who put it out there was like, "Oh, I can't talk about it." But like it's like imminent or whatever. And it's like,
What an asshole. That's a fucking second grade thing. I
yeah,
know something.
yeah,
I
that's
can't tell you
exactly what
though.
it is. You're a fucking child. Oh, I have a secret, but I can't tell you. But I'm gonna tell you about that. I know the
Yeah.
secret. So you're on top of being an asshole, whatever. So then come to find out he like released another little piece of information and said, or someone like asked him a question and said, well, it has to do with Russia. And people were like, okay, like what's the national security threat with Russia? And he was like, well, I can't really tell you. Like we need to, and he called on Congress to like declassify like certain information so that he could bring it to the public and be like the white knight and like save the day and tell everyone that like what's going on. Well, somebody found out what the information was and they leaked it. And come to find out, this wild imminent national security threat that has to do with Russia pertained to Russia putting nukes in space. Now, you might be sitting there being like,
Sounds a lot like Austin Powers.
well, yeah. Also, too, I think the rule of thumb, I think we've talked about it on the show before. The rule of thumb is anytime something goes to space, That's how you know, like it's jumped the shark. It's fucking trite. Like whatever.
It took James Bond a long time to come back after he went
Yeah,
to space.
yeah. Once something goes to space, right? Like the movie, like the horror movie Leprechauns, like they did Leprechauns in space, like that. Like once you take a franchise to space, uh, you're cooked. You're done. It's there's no more, right? So, um, so you might be sitting there being like, well, what's the fucking point if Russia puts nukes in space because they already have nukes on the ground? So if they wanted to fire a nuke at us, they could just do it. They don't need to have it in space. They can just do it from the ground that currently exists. So, and there's also rumors that they have hypersonic missiles, which we allegedly don't have a defense for, which I don't believe in a fucking second that we
Yeah,
don't have a
okay. There's no
we
way.
don't have a defense for
Not a
something.
chance.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, well, I don't know. We don't think we don't have hypersonic capability. It's like, yeah, bullshit. We probably had hypersonic capability fucking 20 years ago, pal. Like you're just not in the know, right? Like, and if even if you are and you do know, you're lying about it. So obviously we have the fucking defenses around. So don't give me that bullshit. Like, well, I don't know. Russia has hypersonic missiles. Our defense systems can't defend against that. Yeah, okay, we have defense systems for it. All right, don't fucking play me for a dum dum here. Um, so the so that's I lost my train of thought, but like they can just fire fucking rockets whenever they want and have a nuke on it. So why the fuck is it a big deal that they're gonna put nukes in space? And someone goes, "Whoa, they can blow up satellites." And then I didn't respond because it's Twitter, right? And I'm just reading comments to what other people are saying, and it's like, yeah, if Russia really wanted to blow up satellites, like the United States owned satellites, they could just fire regular missiles at it and do it that way. There's no need to fire a nuke at a satellite. That's like the textbook definition of overkill. Right. And then on top of that, you're literally just guaranteeing World War III, right? Because there's going to be nuclear fallout from space that's going to come down to Earth. So whatever fucking was underneath that satellite, whether it was Argentina or Australia or China or whatever, or the fucking Pacific Ocean, like whatever was underneath that is going to catch all the nuclear fallout. And it's just going to be like a whole thing. It's just dumb. It's just really fucking dumb. Like the whole thing, well, Russia has nukes in space or they're going to put nukes in space. Okay, so that's your big national security thing, right? That comes out at the end of last week. Well, the next,
Lasers.
yeah, lasers, sharks with lasers on their freaking heads. So the next day, it comes out, and I forget who on Twitter I saw this from. I didn't save it either, unfortunately, but I wrote it down. So what happened was, I think Tuesday, like Monday or Tuesday, like early in last week, there was a bill put forward in Congress to continue funding Ukraine. I think it was like another like $95 billion or something that was going to go to Ukraine. And the House Republicans said, no, fuck that. We're not voting for that. So it died, right? It didn't get passed. 2 days later, there's a mysterious leak of information pertaining that Russia is posing a national security threat. And what this person did in their tweet was, the whole point of that releasing that information was to kind of like rile up the United States population, like the common folk, to be like, oh, well, no, we need to fund Ukraine now because Ukraine needs the money to fight Russia because Russia's bad. And if we don't do something, if we don't help the Ukraine defeat Russia, there's an imminent attack, national security threat coming to us against Russia. And I saw like that again. I forget who the person was, but they laid it out in like a bunch of tweets on Friday. Whether it was like Thursday, that was Thursday, and then he put this on Friday or Wednesday, Thursday, doesn't matter. It was like the next day. And I was like, Oh, wow. That makes so much fucking sense. And continues with the theme of everything is retarded, right? It's like, or they think, well, most people are, but politicians think that like people are just dumb, right? It's like all it took was
At
someone to
least
put that
they're at
on
least right
Twitter.
about that.
Yeah. All it took was someone smart on Twitter who had an inside beat to put something out there. And that thread had like tens of thousands of views, right? If not like 100,000. Like, so a ton of people have seen it, a ton of people like myself. And now a ton of people are like, oh, well, you're full of shit. Like, the Republicans didn't support your bill to fund the Ukraine. So then you come up with this bullshit story that there's a national security threat from Russia in hopes that people will now want to fund Ukraine. Like, this is dumb. Like, this is the dumbest shit ever. And also, like, you talk like Insidious doesn't even really do it justice. Like, that's just it's just flat out evil. Like, to do shit like that.
Are you fucking surprised?
No,
This
but
is what politicians do. It's just way more fucking I don't even want to say it's more transparent. Transparent's not the right word. Just more reported, more obvious.
yeah,
We hear about it more often.
right,
That's what I'm trying to say. We hear about
right.
it more often.
Yeah.
They were always like this, fucking politicians. Like when they were all owned by the fucking mobs and mafias, you think it was any fucking better?
Oh, well, honestly, it probably was
Probably was, because they actually
because the
probably
mob
accomplished certain things.
and the mobs and the mafias were concerned with like local politics. Like General Dynamics and Boeing and fucking Lockheed Martin and all these companies, they don't give a shit about like people at a local level. But I mean, that's the one thing you got to say about like the mob back in the day. Like they took care of the people in their neighborhoods, right? They might have shaken down the fucking convenience store owner for some money because he was light every now and then, but for the most part, like if some new person came and like fucked with a convenience store owner, right? They would be like, no, 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 that he's my guy to fuck with. He's not yours to fuck with. And then they would handle the threat. So, it's kind of fucked up and it's not ideal, right? You don't,
Bronx Tale.
yeah, yeah, it literally, it's the Bronx Tale.
The bar owner would have been paying
Yeah,
Sonny whatever the taxes,
yeah,
and then in exchange, when you need them to fucking or they didn't kill anybody. When you need them to fuck some people up, they do it.
right,
No
right,
questions asked.
right. So it's like, in a way, getting rid of the mobs kind of like open the door for these massive corporations to step in instead. And they don't give a shit about local people, right? Like I said, the mobs gave a shit about the local, like the town, and all that shit. So, I mean, everyone always talks about El Chapo this, he's a bad guy, that. He did great fucking things for Medellin. Like the people that lived in Medellin fucking worship the ground that he walked on because he fucking took care of those people. So, I mean, obviously, yes, he was a bad person and he sold a ton of drugs and killed people and all that shit. But from like, you know, there's some benefit from it, right? Some people got a benefit. Who gets the benefit from General Dynamics and Lockheed Martin? The CEOs of those companies, right? Like, no one at the local level gets any sort of benefit like they would have from the mob or the cartels, even, right? So you're going to tell me, like, if I had to choose, right, do I want to be in a government that's controlled by cartels, the mob, or corporations? I'll take the mob because at least they're going to help somebody.
Plus, you're dealing with humans in that case.
Right, right, exactly. And the mob doesn't get rich off of fucking world wars like the military industrial complex. They get rich off of facilitating wars all over the world. So the mob just fucking, you know, back in the day, they controlled the sale of alcohol. Maybe they sell little drugs here and there. Some of them didn't like drugs, right? The Corleones, they didn't like the drug
Oh, they didn't
trade.
want the drugs.
No, they didn't want drugs. So, you get folks like that too. But hey, this is what we
Olive
got.
oil and gambling business. Should we get in the olive oil business?
I think it's too late for that. Have you seen though that the olive oil business is like wicked corrupt? Because the mobs that still exist in Italy actually like run the olive oil trade
Yeah.
and they cut
So
it with like other fake oils.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
No, no. It's funny because the whole trend started because of like a health craze. Like the fitness people started realizing like, oh, this olive oil is bad because it's not pure olive oil. And then I think like some investigative journalist probably like saw that, looked into it more, and then found out that like the Italian mafia, like the actual living in Italy Italian mafia, not your fucking, you know, Giuseppe Sanfilippo who lives in fucking Rhode Island that thinks he's Tony Soprano mafia, like the real fucking live in Italy speaking Italian because people in Italy speak Italian.
No, Italian's not a language,
Yeah,
dude.
Italian is a language. Um, like they are fucking controlling the olive oil trade.
Is Sicily a big olive oil producer? Because that place is fucking corrupt as all hell.
It is, yeah. I think it's most of them, to be honest, because I know a lot of the olives are actually um in Greece too.
Yeah.
But it's for sure southern Italy because northern Italy is too cold or doesn't have the, not that it's too cold, but it doesn't have the preferred climate.
Right.
So southern Italy and Sicily are the big olive producers. But yeah, I mean Sicily is fucking. It's where the Corleones were from.
It's where everyone wants to be from.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm Sicilian. Oh, okay, pal. Whatever you say.
Poverty and crime ridden. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. uh,
Yeah. Until fucking Francis Ford Coppola made a movie, no one wanted to be Sicilian.
exactly. Yeah. Um. All right. What else is retarded that we have here?
Me.
Yes, I am retarded. Oh, here's a good one. Before we wrap things up, um, I saw this the other day. This is fucking retarded. Boston, good old Boston, is considering adding a congestion fee in order to reduce traffic. What is a congestion fee, you might ask? Well, that is where you need to pay $15 in order to enter the city of Boston via car. This was proposed by City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. She said that Boston consistently ranks among the top 10 cities in the country for worst traffic. And by charging people $15 to enter the city, it would reduce the traffic. She goes, the vast numbers of vehicles entering our city can also negatively impact the quality of life of our residents. I have a couple words for you, City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. They are go and fuck and yourself. You dumb bitch. Imagine wanting to charge people $15 just to drive into Boston.
New York's trying to do that.
Yeah, New York is also
Trying to
retarded.
trying to drive into Manhattan, I think.
New York it is also a city where like it doesn't make sense why you would want to drive there. Right? Like at least Boston, it's a pain in the ass, right? But you can drive through Boston. It sucks. I understand. You cannot drive through Manhattan. You can't.
Never been.
Yeah, it's dumb. So now Boston wants to charge people $15 to come in, which will never work.
What about an Uber?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Um, so
And then where do we draw the line on quote unquote Boston?
exactly. Yeah.
Because
So
if I'm gonna go to Stop and Shop in Hyde Park, which is about 3 minutes and 15 seconds from my house, is that a $15 charge? What if I'm not going and staying? What if I'm just driving through? Because to get to Dedham, I got to drive through Hyde Park. Does that count?
right, right. Yeah, I don't know how they would differentiate there.
Seems
So
like they have some logistical issues.
the Mass GOP chairperson, Amy Carnevale, says that the measure is unfair to people that can't work from home. And also, many people drive to Boston for cancer treatments, and that would put an even bigger strain on them, which bravo, Amy Carnevale, because I didn't even think of that. Boston is quite literally the number one medical hub in the entire world, not the state, not the country, the whole fucking world, right? All 8 billion people in the world. Boston is number one when it comes to like health and treatment and pharmaceuticals and healthcare, whatever, like hospital care, whatever it might be. Boston's number one. So people are going to come into the city for whatever medical treatment procedure they might need. You're going to charge them $15 too, right? This will never work. It'll also never work because for certain people, right? They let's take me for example, right? Like my job, I'm not required to go into Boston because my office isn't in Boston. However, I have clients that are in Boston and in Cambridge, right? All over. So I frequently have to go there when we have clients that are there. Now, like, so again, my company's a little different because like we have mileage and expenses because we travel a little bit. So like I would push, right, especially being in the position I'm in, I would push for of that $15 charge to be an expense, right? Like we should be able to charge that expense. So now that charge gets passed on to either my company or my client and their company, and they're going to pay for it, right? So
Which that ain't how that'll work.
if companies have to start paying for this, you better fucking believe this isn't going to work, right? Because again, we just talked about companies and corporations with Lockheed and Boeing, like they have all the power, right? If what's like one of the biggest fucking companies in Boston, um, I don't know, Liberty Mutual is there. The pick a big bank, right? Fidelity Bank, right? They have their headquarters in Boston. You're gonna tell me that they're just gonna be okay with having to pay an expense of $15 per employee that has to come in there? Or if they had if they had a third party or an outside vendor contractor come in, they're just going to be okay because they're theoretically like their actual employees might not be able to charge that expense because you don't get to charge expenses for like your trip into work, right? Like we've done that song and dance here before when I talked about people with, oh, how come I don't get mileage or this or that or whatever. It's like you don't get paid mileage to go to work, like to drive to your office every day. So like, but for vendors and contractors that need to come in that get to charge expenses to the client, they're just going to charge the expense. Oh, it's $15. Every time you want me to come into your site, that's $15. They're going to be like, yeah, absolutely not. And they're going to pay somebody in fucking the state politics in the state house to fucking crush that bill.
Yeah, and I just don't know how it like I don't know how it works. It's like, okay, you want me to take an Uber into Boston? Like, is that gonna cost me like my Uber fees and 15 on top of it? And then it's like, well, where in Boston are we talking? Like, where's the line?
Right. Yeah. And how do they enforce it? Is it like the Easy Pass thing, right? Like how they're going to have cameras everywhere that snap the Easy Pass
Yeah, probably
transponder.
pay by plate.
Yeah. So it's just, and then the other thing too, right? That someone else came as a defense was this will never work, particularly in Boston, because the MBTA is unreliable.
That is true.
Because theoretically, right, what you're trying to do is you're forcing people to use public transportation by charging them money to drive their car into the city. But the MBTA is not reliable enough to do that. Because then again, these companies, right? These large companies, whether it's Bank of America or fucking, pick any company on State Street, right? In the financial district, like, you know, they're going to be like, well, half my fucking accounting department didn't come in today or showed up an hour and a half late
The
because
orange line's on fire again.
because the orange line's on fire and this retarded fucking councilman from the city or the state or whoever is going to charge them $15 to come in. So they lost incentive to drive into work like a normal person, and they're relying on the T, and the orange line caught on fire again. So now, like I said, half my accounting department is out today, and we have end of month reporting to do. Right. So that's all it takes, right? Is that one instance for, again, like what a pick whatever massive fucking company you want. I don't think an AT&T doesn't have a big presence in Boston, but like literally fucking any of them. Facebook, I think Facebook is there now. Pick any of the big massive pharmaceutical companies, right? Right off of 93, you can see Bristol Myers Squibb, right, but right by the bridge. Sanofi's over there. I think GlaxoSmithKline is over there. Like pick any of those companies, right? Or entire vaccine department couldn't make it in today, or only three people could because they live in Cambridge. Everybody else didn't make it in. It's like, no, this shit is not going to work. It doesn't fly. So, you dumb bitch, Tanya Fernandez Anderson, you're a moron. Congestion fee, paying $15 to drive into Boston. That is retarded. Like I said, this show, it has a theme. This particular episode. So, that being said, you want to wrap things up?
We can wrap this up. I think one of you guys sent it in the Twitter chat. The idiot from California that says we need to have $50 minimum wage to cover basic living.
I think that was
$50.
Vinny.
$50 an hour. But like that's the thing is like there was a video of this woman who actually uttered those words.
Yeah.
$50 an hour. Minimum wage.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
I don't have many words to add on to that, but just like talk about just not even.
So $50 an hour times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks a year. It's $104,000 a
Minimum
year.
wage.
Minimum wage. Minimum wage should be $104,000 a year.
Maybe in parts of California it should be.
Oh, Christ.
Nice state you got there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because even in California, if you make $104,000 a year, you're only taking home probably 50 or 54, right? You might keep 54, and the state's going to take 50 because it's basically a 50-50 split in California.
Pretty cool. But I guess that's what happens when you live on Moron Mountain from fucking Space Jam.
Yeah. It's so fucking wild. I heard something the other day, one of the podcasts I was listening to, where I think this is where that $50 minimum wage comes from. I forget what the topic they were talking about was, but it was like personal like sufficiency or like happiness or something, whatever you want to call it. But it was like if they polled, by they, I don't know who, right? Like pick whatever fucking poll company is out there. They polled people, I think it was making at least $250,000 a year. I think it was that they polled in this particular, questionnaire or whatever. And they said, how much more money would you need to live comfortably and happily? And on average, the people making $250,000 a year said 2 to 3 times more than what they make right now. And it's like, it's really never enough, right?
No,
Like I
it's
bet
never.
you, like if you poll people that make $1 million a year or $6 million a year and be like, oh, how much money do you need to be happy? They'd probably be like, I probably another, if I made like another 3 million a year, I'd probably be good. Like there's just no, it's never enough, right? There's no satisfaction. There's no whatever because people tend to just live above their means. And so I think that's where that $50 an hour minimum wage came from because someone probably sat there and was like, oh, what would I need to live my life comfortably? $50 an hour. That's what the minimum wage should be. And then, like, then you get just, laughed at because that's retarded.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I have no words for that. But I got one more retarded thing for you for my final thought. And thankfully, we don't get monetized on YouTube because I think the amount of times we've said retarded in this episode, we would probably get demonetized. But whatever, doesn't apply to us because we don't make money off of this anyway. um, so the last thing I got is this weekend was the Genesis Invitational um, at the Riviera Country Club in LA. So good event, right? It's this year it's a signature event, so there's all the highest, theoretically best players in the world, minus those guys that are on live. Um,
You
which is
mean
quite a
the
which is
nobody
quite a
has
few of
beens?
them. Yeah, which is quite a few of them now.
No, those are nobodies and has beens.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so they're there, whatever. It's the event. It is what it is, right? This is less about like the actual golf thing in and of itself, and this is about something that's retarded. Jordan Spieth on Saturday finishes his round. Was it was it yesterday or was it Friday?
It's Friday.
It was Friday. Yeah, so it made news on Saturday, but it was Friday night after he finished his round. He brought his scorecard into the judge's tent afterwards and signed his scorecard and walked away. I think someone put out a story. He was like needed to run to the bathroom or something. So he just signed the scorecard, gave it to the judges, and then ran to the bathroom. Didn't check the scorecard. Come to find out, there was a discrepancy where on his scorecard, I think it was the fourth hole, he wrote down that he got a 3 and he really made a 4 or vice versa, whatever. That part of it really isn't important. The actual story is that one of the holes, like I said, I think it was the fourth hole, he had the incorrect score on his scorecard. Because of that, he was disqualified from the event. In 2024, when scoring is kept a million different fucking places. It's on a scoreboard, it's on the TV, it's on the guy's scorecard, it's on your playing partner's scorecard. It's probably some other it's fucking everywhere. It's in the clubhouse. Everyone knows exactly what your score is. But because golf is an antiquated, old, grumpy, old white man sport that's a bunch of fucking assholes, well, this is the way we've done it forever. But you sign your scorecard, you make sure all your numbers are correct, you give your scorecard to the judges. If it's incorrect, you're disqualified because this is a gentleman's game and we don't treat or we don't take kind to liars here. All right, first of all, go fuck yourself. Second of all, there was these things that were invented in like 1982 that are like super advanced now. They're called computers. So the fact that like someone has to still write down their numbers on a piece of paper and hand them in at the end of the round is retarded, right? Everything is on computer, everything is kept digitally, electronically. Everyone knows what the score is. But because there was a discrepancy, now this person is disqualified. And this has really nothing to do with like Jordan Spieth in of itself. I like Jordan Spieth, right? But like if this was fucking Harris English, right, that this happened to, I would be just as fired up and just as mad and just as bitchy about it because it's a stupid fucking rule and it's the dumbest shit ever.
A few thoughts on this. Number one, golf is getting super annoying with rules infractions. Like today was Hideki Matsuyama putting his wedge down with the fucking camera.
Yeah.
So we we have a couple issues. So number one of my main annoyances is we have to use scorecards because the scoring, if the player doesn't do their own scoring, they could get fucked over because they're relying on volunteers and ShotLink, which is not a perfect system. That's one of the arguments. So, okay. But we rely on cameras and volunteers and shit to tell me that fucking John Rahm's ball moved at the Memorial that year.
Right.
That's not how it should be. If we're going to play by the fucking rules of golf, if his playing partners did not see it, then it did not happen. Period.
Right.
That's how fucking golf is supposed to work. So, the scorecard thing. Originally, I'm like, this is stupid. There's no way to like fucking figure this out. So we have a P. So here's my. I have a couple. I have two prevailing thoughts, and they've morphed over the weekend. Number one, filling out your scorecard isn't that fucking hard. If you can't do it right, maybe you do deserve to be DQ'd because that's a fucking IQ test. Just fill out the fucking scorecard correctly. It's not that fucking difficult. So that's why I don't. I like at first I was like I was with you. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Like just because he signed for the wrong score, and it's like, yeah, but how hard is it to fill out a scorecard? It's not that hard. And a lot of these ex tour players were talking about how the system really works. There is no central scoring at a PGA Tour event. So you've got old, retired, half blind men and women out there that are like walking scorers, and they are wrong probably 10% of the time. So they're not keeping track. There's only one scorer per group, and they can't keep up with the three guys or two if it's the weekend, whatever. And then the other option is ShotLink, but ShotLink is more so like satellite-y, but someone still has to input that stuff, and they're not right there doing it. So the PGA Tour, which they are not going to do, they would have to employ scoring officials if people want this to go the way that they think it should. Now, I fucking for sure hate the idea of you keep your own score. That's what you do in golf, dude. These guys aren't playing for fucking 25 schmeckles anymore.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
playing for millions and millions of dollars on a fucking broadcast network.
Right. And to that point, right, it makes sense for someone like you or me, right? If you play in a local qualifier, you play in a tournament,
Who's going to keep
there's
track?
there's no TV crew. There's no one that's holding the fucking score poll, right?
Yeah,
The post with the board following.
standard bearer.
Like, yeah, there's none of that. So in a local event, right? Like when I played Pawtucket Country Club last year. It makes complete sense that well, actually, Pawtucket Country Club, I didn't have to turn it into a scorecard. Everything was kept digitally, but that's another thing. Um, but it makes sense for like again, for someone like you, right? That plays in a Mass Am qualifier or whatever it might be. Yeah, because people aren't out there. Like I said, there's no TV crew, there's no cameras, there's no dedicated people following you around. It's just you and the guys in your group and your caddy, right? And your caddies, right? And so that makes sense. But for these guys, like you just said, making millions of dollars with millions of dollars on the line on a national broadcast, like that's dumb. There's got to be a better way.
The PGA Tour is too cheap to do it because you would need a team because you got to remember it's not just the people you see, it's the guys that tee off at 7 a.m.
Right.
It's the guys that are out there shooting fucking 79 in
It's
the morning.
Michael Kim, right? And like, although he's been playing better.
Well, it's like Larry Mize at the Masters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you would need an official scorer for every player.
Right.
And that's why, like, I don't know what the solution is because at the same time, Jordan Spieth, I don't know how many career events he's played in. You know how to dude, you know how to fill out a scorecard. Just fucking fill it out. And if you're really rushing through because you got to take a shit, don't fucking sign it.
Yeah.
Or, but this is, and here's the other thing, because there was a story about Spieth. I don't know what event it was, a couple years ago, whatever. He just didn't fill out the scorecard during the round. Just didn't do it. He goes, "Oh, I'll figure it out later." So he's sitting there, and then there's a backup on the 18th tee. He had written down exactly 0 scores on the scorecard. And he's got to go back through it. I'm like, I can't feel bad for these people.
Yeah.
They're fucking stupid too. Like the rule's stupid, but they're just as stupid.
Right. Right. I think the issue is like the punishment doesn't match the crime, right? Like if you got if you are off by a stroke and like there's a one hole discrepancy, you don't deserve to be disqualified for the entire event, right? If you want to take a
No,
two
but it's
if you want to
so
take a
easy
two
to
stroke
fill out the
penalty,
card. It's
I
so
understand.
easy.
I understand, but if you want to make it a two stroke penalty, go ahead.
Well, you can't because then someone's gonna write down uh
Yeah, someone that makes a
someone's gonna
seven.
write down they're gonna write down a 2 on the par 5 when they made par, take the 2-stroke penalty, and there's still a 1-stroke gain.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's make it a five stroke penalty or whatever the fuck it needs to be. Being disqualified from the event is
But a
retarded.
5-stroke penalty would still have effectively would have DQ'd him because he wouldn't have made the cut. So it's like there isn't like, dude, this system sucks, and that's the thing
Yeah,
is like because it can't be as simple as oh well, just have someone central scoring some way, shape, or form. It's like no, because they're too cheap to do that, and you would need one human with every person, and ultimately you would still need the scorecard because the player would still need to verify that the score was correct. So the system doesn't actually change. They would I don't know how they would have to come up with that. Like it would have to be something crazy. And then you're rolling into the same thing with like NFL like, well that wasn't pass interference. Well, I'm the ref, so that's what it is. You made 4. It's like, dude, I made fucking 3. Nope, I saw 4. You made 4.
yeah,
It would fucking dude, like that whatever golfer that was, they go to fucking jail. Because we just said there's millions of dollars on the line and you just took a
right,
fucking stroke away from me.
right,
No, no, no. You
right,
made 4. No, I didn't make fucking 4. Oh,
right,
what are you going to do? Check the cameras? No, system doesn't work.
right, right.
But yeah, I'm just like, that's another thing. Now it's like everyone's, got to change the rule. No, there's no way to fix this rule without in a realistic way.
Yeah,
There is a way to fix it, but it's going to cost way too much money. And when you have like the US Open and it's 156 players, good fucking luck. And when you play some of these events that are on multiple courses, so now you need double or triple what you
right,
just said,
right.
good fucking luck. I don't know. Like it's because it was like that was like all the talk of all day yesterday. And then it's insufferable because some people are like, well, the integrity of the game. No, shut the fuck up with the
Yeah,
fucking
see,
integrity of
that's
the game. The guy
yeah,
had
that's
fucking food poisoning and he rushed out of the fucking tent.
yeah,
That's why. Like him and Tiger, they were both fucking sick.
yeah, shit in their pants.
Yeah, he had to go shit himself. It has nothing to do with integrity or fucking old Tom Morris or anything other than he had to shit. That's it.
It's literally it.
It's not the game your grandfather played. It's not the game that fucking like the architect designed. He had to shit and fucked his score up. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yep.
So is the punishment correct? Probably not. He had to shit. So you're out. I don't know. But I don't have a way to fix it.
Yeah.
So it has to stay the same. Like it can't.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but is there like a time requirement? Like you need to hand in your card within like 5 minutes of, finishing the 18th hole or something
Yeah,
like
you
that?
got to go directly to the tent. You can't.
So
So
maybe
like
that's where you change the rule. Maybe you're like, it needs to be in like a half hour late. Like give like allow the guys to like go take a shit after the round.
it's just like one of those like, hey man, can I leave the card here? I gotta go fucking shit my pants. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, there is a thing like you are supposed to go directly to the tent. You are
For
supposed
the
to
integrity of the game. Yeah,
you're
fuck
supposed to
off.
sign your card
Yeah,
before you leave, and then once you leave the tent, that's it. If it's
yeah.
wrong, you're fucking out.
So maybe that's the opportunity to like change the rule, right? Is to get instead of like the penalty or anything like that, or obviously they're not going to hire these people and pay them. Like maybe the opportunity for change is there, right? Like you change that rule where you don't need to go immediately into the tent, but you have 20 minutes, right? Or there's no clock, right? But it's like within a reasonable amount of time.
You have to sign your card before the next group comes in. Like that, like that's the only reasonable time limit.
Yeah,
Because that's the other thing is like if you like because in this example, it's very simple. Like, okay, I got a shit.
yeah,
All right, man, you got like 15 minutes. Like that's what you got.
right,
Because it's like this card's got to be in.
right,
And it's like if you had to shit that bad, you like I don't again, it's like there probably wasn't anywhere to go on 17, but like
right.
I don't know what to tell you, man. This is a very unique situation, but um yeah, that's because that's the other problem is if you don't go right away, then it's like, okay, is this person no carding or is this person withdrawing? Like what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
And there is really like no good system because they rely again because the PJ Tour relies on volunteers. So each week you're getting someone that maybe does this once a year.
Right.
Like they don't have staff doing this stuff. And then again, because there's so much money on the line, the game is the way it is. Like what are you gonna have? The fucking scorer stand right next to the caddy behind the bunker? It's like, dude, get the fuck away from me. And then it's like, okay, well, if you stay at a distance, like, are they gonna be able to see every? It's a whole fucking thing.
Yeah. 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 It's just dumb, right? It's a dumb rule. It's a dumb situation, but
And then also at lower levels, people legitimately cheat on this
oh
stuff.
yeah.
Not the PGA Tour. There's too many cameras, but
Yeah.
on like mini tours and stuff, that would be like a legitimate problem.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
Corn Ferry, because a lot of that isn't televised.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely made a three.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no, you chunked a wedge. No, I didn't. Fuck, here we go.
Yeah. So, well,
We need less rules and fractions in golf, though.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
It is not helping. It is not helping the golf fan one bit.
Nope. Nope. Not one fucking inch. But yeah, that's gonna do it. It's gonna do it for us. So if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. If you happen to be using Spotify or Apple, you can leave us 5 stars and a review. That would be stupendous. What else we got? You get us on Instagram. at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is sarcasm speaks. Website sarcasmspeaks.com. Go to the merch store, buy some merch, and then also take a look at the show notes below. And you see a bunch of links and for some discounts and all kinds of fun products and things like that. Shout out to Element. I'm just gonna buy some more Element myself. So you can get a discount code for your electrolytes down there. So check out all the sponsors in the show notes. Support those guys; they're great. And until next time, good night, everybody.